How to organize your speech. Part two of a five-part series where we're going to go over exactly how to organize your speech so you can have better structure and be able to reach your audience more effectively. So let's talk about the body of our speech this time. In the body of your speech, you want to make sure that you have it structured in a way. I like to do 3 points. Those are usually memorable, 3 to 5 points. So within the body of a speech, you're going to have a couple different points that support the overarching theme of what it is that you're going to talk about. So think about it like making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. If we are making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and that's what my speech is about, there's probably going to be three main things there that we're going to have. You're going to have your bread, you're going to have your peanut butter, and you're going to have your jelly. And so you want to talk about these three things and why they're so important. Well, the bread is important because that's what helps you be able to, that's what you're going to put your peanut butter and jelly on. And then you're going to put it together so it holds that sandwich in place. It also doesn't get your hands dirty, things of that nature. And then you move on to the peanut butter. Okay, let's put peanut butter on. It's a great source of fat and a little bit of protein in there. And it's just ultimately delicious and everybody loves it, and it gives you that saltiness. But then that's where you bring the jelly in. The jelly is great, it's sweet, and it's that sweet and salty mixed together is an amazing combination. And that's why you have these three main ingredients when it comes to a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Of course, I just made that up on the fly, but think about for the subject that you want to talk about. You're going to have 3 points that support that. Like, why is speaking great? Well, one, speaking on stage is great because you get to speak in front of multiple people instead of one person at a time. Two, you get to look like an authoritative figure because you are speaking in front of an audience. So ultimately, you and automatically you get credibility that other people don't have that are just there in the audience. And then number three, it's just a fun experience to have. And so that's why getting on stage and speaking in front of people is a great thing. So just another example for you of how to put 3 points in there, and you can have as many as you want. I suggest 3 points because you can expand upon those. And so how exactly do you expand upon these 3 points? That's the important thing, because as a former engineer, being around engineer and IT people, I see a lot of people where they want to just give you the details. They want to say, oh, well, speaking, it's great because it'll give you credibility. Okay, cool. And point two, and speaking is great because it makes you look like an authoritative figure on the particular subject that you're speaking on. Oh, and then number three, it's just a lot of fun because you get to speak in a bunch in front of a bunch of people. Da, 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 da. Okay, cool. Well, that really wasn't very substantive. I cannot speak these big words, but there was not a lot of substance to your speech by just saying point one, point two, point three. So this is where really building up that body is such an important thing. And so what I like to do with each point is I like to state the point. So I want to be very clear about what that point is. And then I want to share a story within that point. So I can talk going back to stages. I can talk about how getting on stage and in front of a bunch of people is one of the best things that you can do for yourself in public speaking. Because obviously that's kind of part of it. And I'm making up this example on the fly. So I apologize ahead of time if it doesn't make 100% if it's not 100% clear. Clearly, here I am fumbling on these words. So listen to what I'm saying at this point and not how I'm speaking. Don't judge me on that. But whenever you are presenting your message, you want to make sure that you state that very first point, that supporting point of your overarching message, and then give a story behind that, because facts tell, but stories sell. And this is exactly what you want to do when you speak as well. And it's something that's relatable. If you tell a fact, people go, okay, yeah, I get that. I understand that. But I can't figure out how to apply that to me. So if you start telling a story, it makes more sense. People understand it more. But then if you tell the right story, because you're telling a story that's relatable to the audience, then it gets them to realize how that point affects them. And then finally, you summarize that point, you wrap it up with what you just talked about in the story and giving again kind of a highlight of that story, but also telling them that fact that you said before you went into that story. And there's a kind of an art to this. You kind of have to figure out yourself. It's not always exactly like that, but just to give you an overarching idea about that one particular point, that's what I would do. I would figure out a way to say it without literally just, here's the point. All right, let me tell you a story about the point. And definitely don't say, well, let me tell you a story about this, but go in and share a story and talk about that point and then summarize what that story meant and what that point was at the end, and then repeat this for points 2, point 3, point 4, point 5, how many ever points you have within your speech. And that's how you structure the body of your speech, which is going to be the bulk of your speech. It should be, because this is where you're actually giving all the information, unlike the opener and the close, where you're just coming in, you're getting them excited, telling what it's about, or you're wrapping up there at the end. And if you didn't watch the opener or the closing, which will be in another video, and they're in their own separate videos, definitely go back and watch those, or watch the closer after this video, but watch the opener if you didn't get to go watch that one, the How to Structure a Speech Part 1 opener. But in that body, you want to make sure that you do repeat yourself multiple times, because people learn through repetition. And this is another reason why I always suggest to tell the people what the point is, give a story around that point to help it be more relatable and more tangible for them, and then finally wrap up that point, summarize that point that you just shared within the story. So that way they hear it 3 times. And the nice thing is they'll probably hear it a 4th time in your conclusion, which we'll get into that in the next video. But this is what I do when it comes to my speeches that I go on stage with, roughly. Of course, it changes a little bit depending on the stage, depending on the speech that I have. But I like to try and repeat the same point about 3 times. That way people hopefully absorb it, because the more times we hear it, the more likely we're going to retain it. So that's why the way you should structure the body of your speech, again, make sure it's like 3 points, 5 at the most. I don't like to do a lot of points. It just depends on the subject. Sometimes maybe there are more. Most of the time, I stick around 3 points. That way, it's something that's attainable, something that they can remember easily. Because if you get up to 10, 20 points, you're not going to remember them all. But 3 to 5 points, people can typically remember that many points. And then repeat those points by stating it, by telling a story around it, and then summarizing that point that you just said before you go on to the next point. And do this for every single point that you have. And that is how you do the body of your speech and how you organize the body of your speech. If this was helpful, make sure that you share it with a friend. Let them know what you thought about it, and have a healthy and blessed day.